Alright, so divisional weekend is coming up here, and supposedly this is the greatest weekend of football, professional sports. That's what I keep hearing. Well, I mean, no, I mean, the Super Bowl is the greatest weekend of football. I mean, divisional playoffs is nice. You get four playoff games. Winners all go to the conference title game. But I don't know why silly catchphrases like this catch on. I mean, it's like, oh, this is the best weekend of the NFL season. No, the Super Bowl is the best weekend because it's the championship of the league, Super Bowl. Divisional playoffs are a step on the way to the Super Bowl, and it's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, I keep hearing this ridiculous thing that this is the best weekend. The Super Bowl is the best weekend. This would be the third best weekend because the second best weekend will be next weekend when we find out who goes to the Super Bowl. But we'll worry about that next week. Talk about divisional playoffs. All right, so I'm going to start in the NFC. So again, you know, we got your four teams here, and you know, on the one side you get the Saints and the Rams, the top two seeds in the NFC. Are, you know, no one's really going to argue that they were the two best teams in the NFC this year. So they've had the 2 weeks off. They're getting the home games, and then they'll be hosting the Cowboys and Eagles respectively. And by the way, I thought that the NFC East was the worst division in football. Isn't that what the television kept telling me all year? That, oh, NFC East is in the garbage. 9-7 should win the NFC East. Look how great the other divisions are. Shut up, okay? Because guess what? We have two of the four teams left in the NFC. So how you like that? And it's interesting, interesting dynamic here because again, Saints and the Rams kind of the same situation. You know, they get the home games. They've had the 2 weeks of rest. Cowboys and Eagles, you know, they're in an interesting spot this week. And what's really weird is, like, you know, you got Cowboy fans and Eagle fans thinking to themselves this week, you know, if we can just win this week, we got a winnable game next week to go to the Super Bowl. And that's really odd that you have Cowboys and Eagle fans kind of in the same spot there. Because if you're Cowboys fans, you're looking at someone, okay, great. Well, we get the Rams this week, but you know, if we win, you know, we're either getting the NFC title game at home against a team we've already beaten twice, or we're getting the Saints after, you know, they have hopefully a rough game with Philly. Because if you're the Cowboys, you know, you get a break going to LA this week instead of New Orleans, because you didn't want to play New Orleans with 2 weeks rest and them, you know, chomping at the bit to get back at the team that really gave them their one real loss this year. You know, better to get them in the NFC Championship game where it's a totally different vibe. You know, hopefully, you know, the Saints have been beat up going into that game. But the point is that if you're a Cowboy fan or Eagle fan, you're looking at this week going, if we can just win this week, we got ourselves a winnable game next week and go to the Super Bowl. Because if you're an Eagle fan, you know, if you win, you're either going to LA, and you've already beaten that team, or you're going to Dallas. And even though you lost to the Cowboys twice, you're saying to yourself, we can beat that team. We're not losing to them a third time. So a real interesting spot for Cowboys and Eagle fans this week. You know, 'cause again, you know, normally we're all at odds with each other, but this week it's almost like we kind of have the same goal this week. It's like, you know, there's that kind of like silent, you know, understanding that, yeah, okay, if we all take care of our business, we get what we want next week. You know, playing the other, because obviously, you know, both sides think they can beat the other, you know. But in any event, I mean, it makes for a real interesting game, a set of games on the NFC side. So you get the Cowboys and the Rams Saturday night, and listen, the Rams are a great offense. You know, they beat the Cowboys last year. You know, before anyone kind of knew they were good. You know, it was early in the 2017 season when the Rams went into Dallas and won. But you know, obviously, you know, they've been the second best team in the NFC. They've had an explosive offense, and listen, they finished the season the right way, blowing out the Cardinals and the 49ers. But listen, I've said this for weeks now. The Rams are going into this game not having played well against a quality opponent since the Chiefs game 2 months ago. And let's see if there's not some rust when they come out here Saturday night, because that's going to be the best chance for the Cowboys to win. Because if the Rams come out and they're on point and they put up a couple touchdowns early, that's going to be tough for Dallas to overcome. Not that they can't, but the way you see the Cowboys winning this game is the Rams struggling early on offense and not even Dallas getting up big early in the game. It's just because when you're the favorite, like as the Rams would be here, the longer you let the team hang around, the more trouble you're in, especially in a playoff game, and especially when you have a team like the Cowboys that have the ability to beat anybody else in the league. That's not saying they're going to do it, but they can run the ball, they play defense, they make the commitment to keep the other team off the field. So that it's going to be interesting to see how that vibe plays out, early in the game. Because again, if the Rams come out, put a couple of touchdowns on the board, in the first quarter, again, Dallas could try to hang with them for a little while in a shootout, but that's going to be an early indication that the Rams are back on track. But if they struggle on offense, and you were looking at like a 3-0, 6-3, 10-7 kind of game at halftime, you're going to be feeling real confident as a Cowboys fan. Because listen, the Cowboys are, I don't know, they're like 9 or 10-3 in one possession games this year. So, for all the bullshit we keep hearing about, the Cowboys will always blow it and all this stuff, which certainly has been the case in the playoffs, the last decade and a half, then, it's going to be a new ball game is all I'm trying to say. So let's get to the pick here. So, obviously I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win the game Saturday against the Rams. Because here's the thing. And listen, Cowboys had a big win last week. And this was the other thing I want to say about the Cowboys and Eagles this week. A lot of the bullshit I'm hearing on TV and the radio is instead of just people just giving the Cowboys and Eagles credit for getting their wins this week, I keep hearing about how the Seahawks and the Bears blew it. Like all I keep hearing about the Seahawks is, oh, they ran the ball too much. They ran the ball too much. Why didn't Russell Wilson throw the ball every single play? Have any of these people watch football, or do they just go on the air and run their mouth? Like the Seahawks they were a running team. They ran the ball basically more than anybody else this year outside of Baltimore. So that's what they do. They run the ball, and then that sets up Russell Wilson to make plays. Now listen, Russell Wilson can make plays on his own. The guy's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a scary guy if you're on the other team. Even when the Cowboys went up, 10 points late in that game, I'm like, Russell Wilson at least is going to get a score, and then it's going to come down an onside kick. There wasn't really any doubt that was going to happen because Russell Wilson doesn't give up. But this Seahawks didn't. Why did they run the ball every? Listen. That's what got them where they were, okay? All right, they got in the playoffs with that style of offense. Okay, so there would be no reason for them to change it. And listen, the Cowboys did a decent job of stopping Wilson. It's not like he was going up and down the field when he had the opportunity. Yeah, there were a couple of big plays in there, but they also made a couple of ridiculous plays, Seattle. That Baldwin catch on the fourth down on, I think it was the touchdown when the Seahawks touchdown when he got to 14. You couldn't have covered Baldwin any better on that. But he made a great play, and Wilson made a great throw because they're great players. So just give the Cowboys and Eagles credit, and then the Bears I keep hearing about with the field goal and the ridiculous ruling at the end of the half and the Bears defense blowing it at the goal line and all that shit. Listen, man, the Eagles went in there against a team that, listen, I thought the Bears defense was the wrong matchup for the Eagles. And listen, for the most part, they shut them down. They only had 10 points going into the last couple minutes of the game, but when the game was on the line, Nick Foles did his thing. And the Bears couldn't stop it, couldn't let him out of the end zone. And then of course that guy was going to hit the upright. He says, you can't make this stuff up. No, you can't make this stuff up. Not only did he hit the upright and the crossbar. I mean, just for good measure. I mean, so I mean, it's unfortunate, but you give the Eagles credit, and they won the game. I'm tired of hearing about, oh, this team blew it. This team, the Cowboys and Eagles earned those wins last week, and that's the thing. This playoff win. It's been a long time since the Cowboys have had a real quality playoff win. I know we beat the Lions in 14, the wild card game. We beat the Eagles in 09 with the late Donovan McNabb Eagles or whatever. But I mean, for this Cowboys team to go in, beat Russell Wilson, a Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Pete Carroll, Super Bowl winning coach. And listen, I know it's not the Legion of Boom Seahawks, but when you got a combo like Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, that's a solid playoff win. Now that's a huge confidence builder. I mean, yeah, when you win in the playoffs, it helps build confidence anyway. But to win against those guys, I think is very important, and it's something now that the Cowboys, it's almost like they're playing with house money now, because nobody expects them to win the game. I don't think. I mean, outside of Cowboy fans who are everywhere, but here's the thing about the game with the Rams. The Rams, as talented as they are, they haven't done it. Okay, Goff, Gurley, McVay, these guys haven't done it yet. They haven't done it in the playoffs, and you see this in the playoffs when the heat is on, and things aren't going well, and you haven't been in that spot before. How does a team respond? And a lot of times, this is what I'm saying. This is how the Cowboys win on Saturday night. Things don't go right for the Rams early in that game, and they start to doubt themselves. And the fact that they haven't done it before, it compounds that. This is why you see teams like this, when they get in this position, sometimes they blow it. And listen, the Cowboys have been in that spot. The Romo Cowboys, with that team where they were explosive, but they never done it when it counted, and they ultimately never did. But now that the Cowboys have this solid playoff win under their belt, they're going in there with all kinds of confidence. And it doesn't matter if the Rams are this explosive team, because the Rams haven't done it in a big spot. Now listen, the Cowboys have done it once. They just did it last week. But they've got a lot of momentum coming into this game. So I'll tell you right now, if the Rams don't come out with 14, 21 points, 14 points in the first quarter, 21 points at halftime, the Cowboys are going to win the game. I'm just going to tell you right now, the Cowboys are going to win the game. So there you go. And then you go to Sunday, you get the Eagles and the Saints. And listen, again, I know it's going to sound ridiculous, but I just think the Saints are the wrong team for the Eagles this week. I know I said that last week with the Bears, but, Sean Payton's had 2 weeks now to prepare. I know he didn't know he was playing the Eagles until late Sunday, but, supposedly they prepare for both or all possible opponents. And I just think the Saints have that taste in their mouth from last year where they felt like if they didn't have the Diggs miracle play, they could go up to Philly and win, and they would have been in the Super Bowl. Now, again, Philly's going to have a chip on their shoulder, too, because they got blown out in the Ones. They got embarrassed. And again, it's not going to be that kind of game this time around, but I just think, the Foles magic has to run out at some point. The Saints are just too strong, I think, for them to overcome. Because, again, Sproles is all right at running back. Jeffrey and Aguilar are decent receivers, but the Eagles are not an explosive offense. And if the Saints come out there and do their thing, the Eagles are not going to be able to catch up. And while I would love the opportunity to have the NFC Championship game at home, and the opportunity to not only beat the Eagles 3 times in the same season, but if that were to happen, the Cowboys would have a chance to become the first team in history to beat the defending Super Bowl champs 3 times in the same season. You would love to have that opportunity. I just think the Saints are too much this week. With the Bears last week, yeah, the defense was great, and you figured they could shut down the Eagles, but you knew the offense wasn't going to probably put up a ton of points, and you could totally see that how Philly was going to win a game like that, 16-15 or whatever. But I just think the Saints are too much this week. Alvin Kamara is ridiculous. Michael Thomas is a game breaker. Drew Brees is Drew Brees, and the Saints have a great defense. To go with that offense, and Sean Payton is a great coach. There's just too much on the other side this week. So I think the Saints get it done, and they'll see the Cowboys next weekend for the NFC Championship. Now the AFC, again, the AFC got real interesting when the Colts beat the Texans, because that basically set up a matchup with the Chiefs, where you have a team that at least offensively can hang with the Chiefs, but they can also play defense. But then it also meant that you were getting the Chargers or Baltimore going in New England as opposed to Houston. Because if Houston would have won the game, they would have gone into New England and lost in all likelihood. I mean, let's be honest. So now the AFC suddenly is very interesting. So you get the Chiefs and the Colts, the first game, and again the Colts. Just the symbol of the Colts going into Kansas City into the playoffs again. That's got to lead. Find me a Chiefs fan this week who's confident. Is all I'm saying. Find me a true Chiefs fan who's confident this week. That's all I'm saying. Again, I know it's different teams. We're going back a long time now, but the Chiefs have lost 6 straight home playoff games going back to '95, and 2 of those 6 games were the Colts. So and here come the Colts again, and with an offense that can keep up with the Chiefs in a shootout, but also have the ability to play defense. It's a dangerous matchup for the Chiefs. But that being said, I think that this is the year that the Chiefs finally break through and get the win. All right, and then Sunday, early game, you get the Chargers going into New England. And again, the Chargers are probably the team that can knock out New England in the playoffs in this spot here. Houston wouldn't have done it. I don't think Baltimore wouldn't have done it either. I think Belichick would have been able to game plan for Lamar Jackson and that running style. So I think the Chargers were definitely the toughest opponent New England could have got here. And you just... I felt like the Chargers were kind of dark horse to go to the Super Bowl this year anyway. And I think they're going to get it done in New England. It could be a high-scoring game. It could be a low-scoring game. I know that's a ridiculous analysis, but I feel like the Chargers, they've been road warriors this year. They don't really have a home stadium. And by the way, let me say this. I'm picking the Chargers to win the game. However, if somehow the Colts upset the Chiefs, you can go to the bank that New England's winning on Sunday, because there is no way the NFL is letting the Chargers host the AFC Championship game. There's just no way. I mean, there's a reason that game is on Sunday, and the other game is Saturday. If the Colts win on Saturday, go to the bank that New England's winning on Sunday. The NFL is not going to let the Chargers win and host the AFC Championship game. They can go to Kansas City. They're all right with that, and even end up in the Super Bowl. But they're not having 25,000 people show up for the AFC Championship game, so you can put that on lockdown. But like I said, the Chiefs are going to win Saturday. They're going to finally break that spell of home playoff losing streaks, and then the Chargers, I think, find a way to beat New England on Sunday, and we get a rematch of that ridiculous Thursday night game with the Chargers and Chiefs next week. So you get the Chargers and Chiefs in the AFC, and then obviously you get the Cowboys. They're going to go to New Orleans for the NFC Championship next Sunday. So there you go. We'll be screaming on Saturday night as the Cowboys head to Hollywood. And all right, we'll see you then at divisional playoffs.